morning, everybody. Okay, well, if you don't know me, I'm Mr. Nesbitt. I work up here in the library. You guys are here today to listen to a couple of guest speakers who have come a very, very long way. This is my brother-in-law, Ben, and his wife, Michelle. They live in China, and they're here to talk to you today about what they do and how different your life is compared to the way of life there. So I'm going to turn it over to Ben and Michelle Godard.
We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, so we'll just explain a little bit about China, and then we're going to show you a video to explain why we are in China. I do want to say, though, this is like when we're in China, people ask us a lot of questions about America. We say, this is like America where we are from, which is here in Belleville. And so when we're explaining to you about China, this is really what we experience in the rural areas of China. So we're not in Beijing or Shanghai, so that's a lot different. Also, I really don't want to hear any booing or not, because in the video I did go to Belleville West and I was wearing a Belleville West sweatshirt, so sorry about that.
That was funny. Hilarious people.
It was a lot funnier.
Okay, so I'll explain to you a little bit about the culture in China. In China, they have 1.35 billion people. That pretty much says for every 5 people in the whole world, 1 is Chinese. So, yeah, and if you versus China versus America, there's 10 Chinese people per 1 American. So there's a whole lot more of them. Also, so that being said, that's our video. Just wait, let me finish my little sentence and then we'll start the video. That being said, even though English is the universal language of the world, more people speak Chinese than English in the whole world. So technically it's the most spoken, just not the most spoken around in every country. So do the video and then we'll continue?
Sure.
Super. Okay, so watch the video. We will do a Q&A afterwards. So think of any questions, we'll answer them later.
Okay, pretty good video. So before Ben and Michelle talk more about their life and then answer some questions for you guys, I want to bring up Mr. Larson and one of his students, Kenya Hooper. And they're going to talk about something that they did in Mr. Larson's first hour class.
Nope, that's okay. In my first hour class, I came up with the idea to gather up some money or some gifts to send back with them when they go back home, because this really touched my heart in a way I don't think people understand. And my class gave some money, but Mr. Larson here was the biggest contributor to this, and I thank him for that.
You made it work for you guys. She was really inspired and inspired me, and therefore the class got together. So we want to present you with a little Christmas gift, a little Tylee Woo for the kids back in China. Okay?
Thank you very much.
All right.
It's really great. Thank you very much. Especially, we get asked this question a lot: is how do we finance? And how we finance is all through 100% donations from around the world. So thank you very, very much for that. I believe we talked about we're going to use this to help winterize our kids. We'll talk about it a little bit, but as you saw, most of our kids wearing a lot of coats and things. So I'll explain it a little bit. Michelle's going to talk about
Culture? China?
Yeah, I'll talk about China a little bit, and then I'll talk about schools.
Okay, so the map up here, does anybody know what country that is? Thank you, that was a little delayed. Does anybody know what country that is? That sounds so much better. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this little blue dot. I just really like the color blue, that's why I put that there. So, that's where we live. I'm funny, people. Okay, thank you, that was better. Okay, so this is where we live in China. So, if you were to put America right on top of that, it's about like Tennessee, Midwest. But in China, just like America, you have cold, 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 hot, hot, hot. So up here, if you look at the uppermost dot, that's Harbin. That's where they have a city made out of ice. It's world famous. In the winter, they have a whole city made out of ice. If you like the cold, go there. If you don't like the cold, you come all the way back down to here, all the way at the bottom, the southernmost dot, that's Hainan. That's like the Hawaii of China. Turns out there's a lot of Russians that like to go there. And so So everything's in Chinese, Russian, and then English there, but it's amazing. So you have everything, the climate's everywhere. There is over 1.35 billion people in China. I say that number, but then there's a lot of people that aren't even registered, so who knows how many, there's way more than that. For every 5 people in the world, 1 is Chinese. I said that already. I just realized this. So just second time is really in your brain now, right? For every 5 people, how many are Chinese?
Probably gonna
Good
be a
job.
bonus on the test.
There's a test tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Not on this though. With her. Yeah, there's a test. Pay attention. Okay, so, sorry. So anybody know what they speak in China? They do speak Cantonese. Cantonese is more down here. So since we're all the way up here, we speak Mandarin. Mandarin is the show like Ni Hao Kai Lan. Anybody watch it? Anybody pretend to listen to it while their younger siblings watch it? Oh, come on, you guys have seen it. Okay, so Ni Hao Kai Lan. How do you say hello in Chinese? You guys are geniuses. Okay, so yes, that's how you say it. How do you, so the cool thing about Chinese is things don't really mean the same. So like you would think that America is the same thing in China, right? It's not. The word for America, they actually call us beautiful country. That's what, if you translate what they call us, that's what it means. So how to say America in Chinese is Meiguo, beautiful country. It's very cool. And in China, they don't call themselves Chinese. Their country's not called China. It's a completely different name. Their name actually means middle country, Zhongguo. So it's kind of interesting, I think. I think it's interesting anyway. Maybe not you guys. Who knows?
Okay, she's losing you. How many of you don't like school? You can raise your hands. Your teacher said they won't write names down. Okay.
She might.
All right, well, I'm going to try to convince you otherwise and help you like school better. So in China, you start with kindergarten, and it'll go age 3 to 4, and you go there for 3 years. But in kindergarten, they have to learn English. So you guys all probably went to kindergarten. I'm certain you probably didn't learn a second language, right? But they're learned and tested on it. And if they don't pass, they don't get past to the next grade. But kindergarten is actually a breeze for the kids. It's pretty easy. They give snacks and naps. But when the kids are 6 or 7, they start grade school. In grade school, like our children, they have to wake up at 5:30. Their teachers tell them they have to, at 6 o'clock for 45 minutes, memorize Chinese poems. So then they do that, they eat breakfast, they go to school about 7:15. They're in school, they come back home at about 11:15, 11:30, we eat lunch, but then their teachers give them homework from 12 to 2 o'clock. They go back to school, and then from school, probably about around 5:15, 5:30, they come back home, they eat dinner, half hour later, they have homework until 8 o'clock. So literally our kids are almost in a desk from 6 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock. How many people are in one classroom here? I don't know, but like
How many people are in your class?
20, 30? Our kids are in a classroom of about 80 kids. So it's very, very, very tight in there. Our kids, because we live in a rural area, they actually starting in kindergarten, the kids will live at the school. Our kids don't live at school, so the school, they'll go 6 days one week and then 4 days the next week. When you go to middle school, at 6th grade, that's about 12 years old, they have to take a test, and this test will determine the rest of their life. Our kids, we had 5 kids who just took this test. They were competing against 10,000 other kids in our town. Our town is a town, not a city, and it has 1 million people. So, like Michelle was saying, it's a lot of people. Of the 10,000 in this school, they will only take 1,500 of the best students and put them in the best middle school. If you do not make that, then you have very little chance, but practically no chance to make it to the best high school, to make it to a good college. So from 12 years old, they have to take this test and try to make out with the best schools they can get into. Middle school, our kids leave our house at 5:30 in the morning. They eat breakfast at school. Then they have a class at 6, and they have breakfast after that. And they come home for lunch. Again, they are given afternoon homework, go back to school, and then they have to eat dinner at school because their last class doesn't end until 8:30. They come back home, and then they have homework to do. Usually, right now it's over about 9 or 9:30, but as the year goes on, it'll be 10 or 10:30 before they can actually go to bed. And again, because of the rural area, our kids go to school 10 days and then they're off 4 days. So, but that's actually easy compared to high school. High school is a lot of pressure, and unfortunately in China there's a high suicide rate because of how much pressure there is. The kids live at school for 2 weeks, and then they come home on the weekends, and that's because at school there is no wash machines, there's no dryers, there's no showers, so they come home basically to shower, wash their clothes, and get ready to go back to school. But even on the weekend, the teachers give them homework. In high school, their first class starts at 5:30. They eat breakfast, they eat lunch, they eat dinner at school. Their last class, some of them, their last class will be over at 10:30 at night, and then they're given homework, which some kids take till about midnight to finish. So school in China is very, very, extremely, a lot of pressure. So our kids, we don't give them extra classes, but a lot of single family homes in China, once they're out of school, then they actually have English classes, they'll have dance classes or music classes or something, because it's a competition. Everyone is competing against everybody to be the best and to beat someone else and to get the advantage of the next person. College is easy. They go to college and the teachers just say, we want a good grade, because at the end of college, the kids grade this teacher. So they say, and this is in the lower level colleges, they say, we want a good grade from you, so we'll just give you a good grade, so here's all your tests. So really at college, they don't learn anything. It's more high school is the biggest pressure. They go to 3 years of high school though, not like you guys before. So who would like to go to China to go to school? No? Do you like American schools a little better now? Yeah. So when your teachers give you homework, be grateful that it's not like China. Some kids can't make it to high school because the pressure of it, or they just failed out of all the tests. So they do have vocational schools. This vocational school, say for instance, someone wants to be a kindergarten teacher, they'll teach them to be a kindergarten teacher, but then for the rest of their lives, they have to be a kindergarten teacher. So some of your teachers, they can teach whatever they want, where these in China, they have to only get what their degree is. And obviously with so many people, jobs are not that plentiful. You saw all of our kids with all the coats. Schools, in China, they believe that fresh air is close to godliness, not cleanliness. So they'll have the windows open. It could be freezing, and they'll have the windows open, have the doors open. In our area where we live, they don't have heat. They don't have air conditioning. So the kids wear literally 5 layers of clothes. In the wintertime, they'll take like a half hour just to get dressed. So because they don't have heat. And like our kids, we bought them gloves, but they can't write with gloves on because if it has to be perfect Chinese characters, they have to study that. Like in their lifetime, they'll end up knowing like 40,000 Chinese characters. But how they memorize them is writing, so they can't even wear gloves. So our kids will come home. It's called frost nip, not frostbite. It's a stage before that, and their knuckles will be swollen. Some of them will be split. They'll get frost nip here. There's a picture of me. I had really red ears. It was mainly because of cold, and once you get it, it's always there, and it just itches, and so you always have to wear ear muffs, and so yeah, it's really cold. So it's definitely different. One thing I did ask, or I was talking to some of my boys today, my Chinese boys, and I said, what is one thing you'd like for me to teach you guys about China? And they said, there's no sun. And what they love is when we come home and we take pictures of green grass, we take pictures of trees. My dad has some property up in Carlinville, and he has a tree that's that white. And my Chinese children will never see a tree that big. We stop and take pictures of clouds, and our family thinks that's kind of weird. I'm like, you don't understand that my Chinese children will never see white, fluffy clouds like that. If we ask them, where do you guys want to go? And they'll say, we want to be in a city where the blue touches the earth. So like in our city, it's a very clean city because there's not a lot of factories, but you can look up and you see blue, and you get about 45 degrees and it'll start turning to a grayish, and then time it hits the ground, where the sky touches the ground, it's white. We've been into cities where there's a lot of factories and a lot of coal burning. It'll be gray, maybe slightly blue, it'll be slightly white, and time it hits the ground, it's dark green. So pollution is very bad. Again, like if you go to Beijing or Shanghai or Hainan, all those places, they're very beautiful because it's a lot of tourism and they don't want you to see that, so they put all the factories in the middle of China. So here's Michelle, she talked about communism.
Basically, China is one drastic difference other than they're Chinese and we're American here, is it's a communist country. So in America, we have freedoms. You have the freedom of speech, you have freedom of religion, and all those other freedoms. I'd love to say them all, but I forgot because I'm not in school anymore. You have freedoms to do what you want, pretty much, unless your mom says no. In China, when you go there, you'll go to maybe the big cities, like we're saying, and it looks just like a regular, like here. You've got Neiman Marcus, you've got Calvin Klein, McDonald's, Dairy Queen, Pizza Hut, Papa John's, all those places. But the thing about communism that's different than democracy is you don't see communism. Communism is the political decisions that are made that you just don't know, that you can't see, that are there. And those freedoms aren't there. You know, in China, we don't have the freedom to write whatever we want on the internet. We don't have the freedom to say anything we want about the government. There's no Facebook, there's no YouTube, there's no, Twitter, there's no, what is the other? Google. They don't like Google there. So Google never works. So that means Google, Gmail, anything else that's associated with that is not allowed in that country. Because the government does not give you those freedoms. So that's a humongous difference. Oh, okay. So does anybody know about the Cultural Revolution that China went through? No? Okay. So basically, for a long time, China was not a whole country. China was separated between different warlords. So this warlord was this really rich dude that said, this is mine. I own this because I own the most property, I have the most money, I have the most drugs, this is mine. And then this warlord was like, yeah, this is mine. So what happens is this warlord and this warlord would fight. And then it caused a lot of death and a lot of poverty and a lot of problems because of that, because you had all these different people owning all these different parts. Well, through a lot of wars and a lot of disruption and a lot of things, Chairman Mao and his party came through and they united the China that we see today. A sad part about that is Chairman Mao did this push for a thing called the Cultural Revolution, and it had a setback. Even though he united the country and did amazing things, the Cultural Revolution ended up doing things, over 40 million people ended up dying from starvation. That happened through different government policies that he enacted. One of them was they cut down a lot of trees to make more room for farming. And then on top of that, they cut down trees to make their houses warm. They cut down trees to, iron? Chairman Mao asked everyone to collect iron, to burn it and to give it to the government. And so what ended up happening is they cut down most of the trees from this whole part of the country. And because of that, every tree in China you can see is probably only about 20, 30 years old, because the government was like, oh no, we have no trees. And if you have no trees, you have no clean air and all these other issues. So that's one thing that happened during that time. And then, yeah, I think we have 9 minutes. Okay, so we have amazing candy from China. It's called White Rabbit Candy, super popular. When you open it, there's this little clear looking paper in here, totally edible. It's only made out of rabbit stomach, so you don't need to worry about it. You got a joke, I'm so proud of you. Okay, so it's not rabbit stomach, it's rice paper. So when you open it, don't be scared. So I would like to take a question from this side.
We'll take one, we got some all the way in the back. There you go.
All the way in the back.
We're gonna throw candy at you, and if you miss it and hits you in the eye, it's your fault. We're not catching it.
Okay.
And we're gonna repeat the question, so you gotta speak loud.
Do they have paper towels back there?
We have paper towels in
We
China.
have paper towels. Where we are from, actually, it's a new thing, is that we were able to get paper towels. And they will sell them maybe this month. We can buy a couple rolls of paper towels, but the next month the store will completely not have them. So in Beijing, Shanghai, the bigger cities, yes, they have them.
Girl in the blue. That's you.
There's a lot of girls in the blue because this is Belleville East.
The one in the front with the blue, but not her. Her. No, that's you.
Go on.
Oh, okay.
Just go. We locked them in the room and just told them not to. I'm just joking. We have 11 staff members there. We have basically 4 house mothers who work 24 hours on, and then they switch with another house mothers at 24. So they switch 24 hours on, 24 hours off. So every bedroom has a house mother. We have 2 teachers, 1 translator, and my cousin is over there right now volunteering. So my translator, she's basically my executive assistant, if you think like a business term, and she's running the place for us. I think I'm on this
So
side.
how about I pick them?
Okay.
You.
How do you like the kids get to school?
How do the kids get to school?
How did the kids get to school? There's like an echo in here. The schools are only about 5 or 8 minutes of a walk. So right now our grade school kids are walking. Our middle school kids I just talked today, and they are begging me for bicycles. So we probably will buy them bikes when we get back home. If it's raining, I used to drive them to school, which I can do, but my van can only legally fit 8. I've put 27 kids in that before. It's not really the safest thing. So I try not to do that. So I will drive them. I can drive them to school when it's raining, but when I pick them up, it takes me 15 minutes to drop. So I tell them you can stand out in the rain or you can just walk home. So they have umbrellas and raincoats and all that kind of stuff. So
How do you roll the bin?
we take the biggest, we set them in, and then we hit the little ones on top of that, and the little ones on top of that, and then the van said, no more. So yeah, it was, well, I was a driver, so I had plenty of room, but everyone else was quite squished.
Put it in the front.
Yeah.
Like, how does it feel like when did you ever like hit your wall, like your first week? I do missionary in Haiti.
Oh, like culture shock?
Yeah, like culture shock. Like,
I want to know about
explain
culture
this
shock.
Okay, God called us to China, and I believe that He gave us a lot of comfort in that, and so we didn't have too much culture shock. I did for about 30 minutes, though. I was there, and I had my little son. He was only a year and a half, and I didn't know this at the time, but small children, you're supposed to put like 16 layers on them so they look like that kid from A Christmas Story, and nobody told me this rule. So I'm holding my son like this, and his little ankles are exposed because his pants hiked up, and these 3 really old Chinese women came up to me and were just yelling at me and pulling his little pants down and pointing to his ankle and just cell phone yet. Couldn't call my translator. I don't know what they're saying. I forgot how to get home. Finally got a taxi, and I think he knew, since we were the only other foreigners there, where I lived, so he took me home, and I went home and cried and took a nap because I'm in China and you can do that there. And then I felt better. And that was it. That was my culture shock. So, Ben, it's your turn. Grab somebody.
Do we know how to speak Chinese?
I hear an echo. Do we know how to speak Chinese? Yes, we do. We got the advice from someone who did what we do, told us not to learn the language in case we learned the wrong dialect. Terrible advice. We went there without knowing how to say anything but hello. So if you go to another country, definitely learn the language before. So we just learn a little as we go. If you need to learn the word for beef, you go to somebody and ask them, and then you go use it, and then you got it. But it's slow. So it's a slow way to learn.
Do you guys have like a website or something for donating?
Do we have a website? Yes, we do. Okay, so it's super easy. Everyone listening? Okay, www.pingyou.homeofhope.org. If that's too hard, just Facebook us. We're on Facebook. Ping you. If you can't remember that, just go to ping is like ping pong. Okay, so ping you, just like you in English, but just take out the O, and that's us. Ping you, Home of Hope. So yeah, we have a website with all information. Something cool if you guys want to be a pen pal with a Chinese kid, we totally do that. You write them letters, they write you back. It takes a little bit because we got to translate them, but super cool. I have no idea. Where are we pointing?
How often do you travel back and forth? Like, when are you going back to China?
Okay. The question was, how often do my husband and I and our 3 sons travel back and forth? We usually say for weddings. We've come home 4 times for weddings. My mother just passed away, so this is why we came home this time. So sad reason to come home, but you know, it was still needed. So that's why we came home this time. Over in the back, somewhere.
What are the kids' punishments?
What are the kids' punishments? We're firm believers in spanking. Sorry if you don't like it. When you have 30 kids, they could overrun us, you know, so we believe in that.
Schools.
As far as us personally. Now, that taken, put it in a public school, the teachers are allowed to do whatever they want to the kids when it comes to that. We've had one of our kids getting punched in the back of the head. Lots and lots of ear pulling. They're really firm believers on that. Smacking, eraser throwing, ruler on the hands. Because in China, you ever heard of the Little Emperor Syndrome? So in China, you have a lot of single families where you only have one child. So this one child has his 2 parents who spoil him because it's the only child, or her. Then you have the 2 parents, but then you have the 2 grandparents, both sides. So you have 6 adults spoiling this one child. So when this child goes to school and the teacher says no, the kid's like, yes. The teacher's like, no. it works pretty well. So there you go.
You guys questions? Do y'all have cell phones?
Do we have cell phones? We do have cell phones. Believe it or not, every single person in China has cell phones. It's the weirdest thing. You will see, okay, maybe besides two. You'll see the women on the streets who sweep the trash. They look super poor. You know, they're going through the trash and taking recycling out, and then all of a sudden you hear, bring, and they pull out a cell phone. It's so weird. So yeah, but they have like $2 cell phones, you know, so they're really cheap. In the back again.
Have you guys seen any of the long-term effects yet on these kids?
I couldn't hear the question.
Have you seen any of the long-term effects on the kids yet?
The long-term effects on the children. Meaning...
Like, any of them that have been in this program and like...
Oh, long-term effects.
That exited?
Okay, so our orphanage has only been open for 4 years, so our oldest daughter is only 14. So as far as seeing what she's like as an adult, I'll tell you next time we come in 10 years. At the first orphanage that we work with, it's the same kind of thing as ours, and they have had their kids go to amazing schools to be a doctor and all these amazing things. They're having their own children, and so to see them becoming adults and leading awesome lives is very exciting for us, because the situations they were taken out of, they definitely wouldn't have made it this far. In the corner? Mm-hmm. Which culture dominates our house? Chinese, definitely. We live, our orphanage is kind of like you saw in the video, all in one long hallway. So the Chinese hallway, they're definitely Chinese, and then you open the door and it's like, boom, little America. We were given the advice to make our home like our home. Don't try and live Chinese because we're not Chinese, and we're gonna freak out after 6 months and have culture shock. So when we come in our home and I have my washer and dryer, and I have my beautiful kitchen, I'm so happy. So yeah, China, America, both. Somewhere back there.
You bring some of the kids back to the U.S.
Do I want to bring them back to the U.S.? We tell them, we've had one girl, Wendy, she was the one I was saying excuse me to. She loves English, and she's always asking us to correct her English, and she really wants to come to America. So we told her, if you want that, I'm not gonna pay for it, so you better be trying your hardest and get a scholarship, practice English as much as you can, and then, yes, if that's what your goal is, go for it and go.
One more question.
One more question.
Have a red sweater guy, because I like his shirt. Oh!
That's right.
You got denied!
Where do your American kids go?
Where do my American kids go? I homeschool, so I'm their teacher. So yeah, it's a full, you know, in our kitchen. They go to school in our kitchen. It's awesome.
That's it?
That's it.
Yeah.
So guys, like we said, there's no more time for questions, but you can Facebook me for another week, because then it'll be, you know, I can't access it in China.